Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About It. I am your host, Taylor, and today I'm joined by one of my closest friends and almost kind of co-host repeat here. We've been a guest several times, but I'm in Montreal here, staying with Vanessa, and thanks so much for having me, over for 10 days in your apartment, but also for coming on the pod, and today's a special episode for both of us.
I feel like I'm part of every episode that's a milestone in either my life or in your life, because we share so many stories, we're a part of each other's lives, and I think it's so important whenever we're able to share these stories with your audience and with your listeners who can learn from it and who can definitely learn from our mistakes, because there have been plenty.
Well, and it feels like it's a safe place, like for me at least. Like it feels like, you know, the listeners of the podcast, the people that support the podcast are like-minded people and open-minded people, where discussing these big, really vulnerable, honestly very personal experiences sometimes doesn't feel as scary as perhaps maybe some other forms of media or other outlets. Like it feels very safe and supportive. So I'm always excited, I think, to it's a nervousness to it, but it's also still exciting to share these personal experiences on here.
So what do you want to share today, Taylor?
All right, so let's get into it. So the title of this episode today is Breakups Are a Blessing. Over a year ago, we had our episode Breakups Are a Bitch, and that was when Derek, Paith, and I split and went our separate ways. And
that's how you say his last name?
Yeah.
I thought it was Peth.
No, he always goes, it's Paith as in faith.
Paith. Oh, a Peh. Okay.
Yeah. That was like his cheesy, dad joke
Paith
thing.
As in
it's
faith.
Paith as in faith.
Okay.
And I would always be
I'm
just
the worst at being able to read people's names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Canada man's name.
Well,
I don't know if you ever got that one right. All right. Yes. So today we're going to discuss breakups being a blessing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get vulnerable.
Shifting that mind state and not thinking that it is a biatch.
Yes. And certainly at times, and I think it goes through phases where it totally is like the breakup is a total bitch. But, I think this one's very different. And there are a lot of blessings in this one. And I'm not the only one.
Nope. I recently had a breakup as well. Not a romantic breakup, but a work breakup. If you follow Help I Suck at Dating podcast with Dean, Jared, and today was my last episode on the Help I Suck at Dating podcast. I'm not sure if we want to dive into my breakup first or yours, but basically Taylor and I are at a stage in our our relationship, our friendship, but also in our lives where we are going through this milestone, which was scary at the beginning, but also very, for me at least, it was a very soothing and calming realization that I was okay with. And it was a decision that I made on my own. And it was scary because I think for a while I kept going back and forth and asking your advice. Should I stay? Should I leave? And
it was several months of that kind of back and forth in your head trying to figure out,
do I belong? I think my question was, do I belong? Do I feel like it's serving me? Is it serving them? And it was taking me away from the things that I know I really wanted to concentrate on, my nonprofit.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who... I'm born in September 30th. I'm a Libra. In French, it's called balance, which means balance, but I'm really not balanced. If one thing is not balanced in my life, everything else is kind of off. And so that was a little bit off for me. So everything was off. And I'm like, well, what is it that makes me really, really happy? What do I want to surround myself with? What kind of energy do I want to have? And in the month of September, for me, it's a month of regrowth and rebirth.
Yeah.
And this year, my birthday, September 30th, fell on the Jewish New Year. My boyfriend is Jewish. And I always say September is the month of being reborn, and it's the new year for me. And I'm like, well, I owe it to myself to now start my new year fresh. And what is it that I want to keep, and what is it that I want to keep doing? And it was really hard because I love my listeners. Yeah. I love the family, the Help I Suck at Dating family. I love the guys and the producers. But it was so hard. I mean, the last episode today, if you do listen, I'm only on for maybe 10, 15 minutes talking about why I'm leaving. And that's because it took them an hour to try to figure out how to connect with me through Skype. And I'm like, well, this is like, if this isn't a reason, if this isn't a sign. So it's hard to record a podcast when you're not face to face with your coworkers, with your co-hosts.
I've talked about that with this podcast, that sometimes it is, I think people have this notion of what podcasting looks like and what it requires. And there's so much that goes in behind the scenes that does require a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of effort. And especially when you're recording, for me, like the interaction with the guest is the most important thing. Like that will either give me energy for the day, or it will just completely drain my energy. And when you're not doing it in person, there is something that's missing there sometimes.
Right. And the podcast is in Los Angeles. I'm in Montreal. I'm in a different country, different time zone, different coast. So the travel itself was 6 hours, a 3-hour time difference, and then it would be a 2-day trip. And so there were a lot of things where I just felt like it's my time right now and my place to walk away with all these amazing tools that I gained from either the guests or from talking with the guys and getting a guy's perspective. We all started off single, and now we're all in a relationship. Jared is married. Well, actually, Jared, I don't think started off single. He was dating Ashley, but I mean, none of us were in anything serious. And so it's nice to see the transition from really sucking at dating. And for me, I was so desperate. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be single forever.
Stop.
I had like so many episodes where I cried. And the thing is, it was so nice to grow with my listeners. It was so nice for my listeners to hold me accountable, for them to email me and DM me and say, Vanessa, remember that episode when you wanted to freeze your eggs because you thought you were going to be single for the rest of your life? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And now I'm in a very happy, committed relationship. So I just felt like my time was over. And it was a really sad realization. It was very sad for me to figure that out. And it's scary when you're walking away from something that is so comfortable, something that you're used to. It became a routine. It was my Monday, Tuesday therapy session with the guys. And
it's also a source of income as well that you have to take into account.
100%. And that's what I said on today's episode, where I'm walking away from something that was stable in terms of income. And now I'm fully committing myself to my nonprofit where I don't make any money, but it makes me feel so rich. Yeah. Because there's purpose, there's meaning. And
I do feel like a lot of people who, and not even just specific to Bachelor family with our experience, but I think in reality TV and in general, there is kind of this bubble that you get in, and it's really helpful in some ways to be a part of it. Like that support is really helpful, but I think in another way, it can kind of feel like you're off in la la land a little bit, and finding things that are really at the root of something that you're really passionate about and that like fulfill you and bring you joy, help kind of ground you and bring you back. And I think that was something, that you and I had talked a lot about, just, your mental health with being a part of the podcast and wanting to be able to focus on Know Better You and how you can, get back into your field a little bit more, and that would be a lot more fulfilling for you.
Yeah. So it's even last episode. So this episode, they couldn't connect with me through Skype. And then the episode before, I couldn't go on because I had a family emergency. And so the stars were kind of just like aligning themselves to make me realize, Vanessa, this is an okay decision. Yeah. And same thing, I guess, when it comes to a romantic breakup or a work breakup, sometimes you feel it inside of you, something is off.
Yeah. But I shouldn't be here.
I shouldn't be here. But I'm the type of person who is only ready to leave when I know I'm so grounded and I'm okay to walk away.
Yeah.
Because there have been times when I was dating someone and I'm like, I need to leave. And that could have been from insecurity. That could have been from fear. And then I did leave, and it was a really hard breakup because I left out of fear instead of leaving with reason.
Yep.
And so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't leaving out of fear. I wasn't leaving because of anything else other than saying, like, I grew so much from this podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for the family that I have. And I'm friends with some of the guests that came on as well. And for me, that's so fulfilling, being able to talk to people like Mike Bear, who's a life coach. And it was such a rewarding thing until I realized, well, I need to put all this energy into what I gave birth to, which was my nonprofit.
Yeah. And that now you're ready to let it go.
I'm ready to let it go. And that's why breakups are a blessing.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. All right, it's time for a short break here. We're going to take a little bit of a pause. I want to share with you guys one of my lovely sponsors of the podcast called Orate. They have fine jewelry made in New York City. It is founded by women for women. The pieces range from classic to statement to completely original. They really make the jewelry that you've always wanted but could never find. You get it for a really good price as well. So they sell directly to you without the middleman markup, but with the same kind of quality as traditional Fifth Ave brands at a fraction of the cost. They kind of, in a way, hijack the jewelry market, making real gold accessible. It's ethically made in New York City, empowering women with the best jewelry options without sacrificing style. It's an infinity bar necklace from them, and it is so cute and classic, and it just literally goes with everything. I always get compliments on it when I wear it out. And I want to share with all of you lovely listeners a little code that you can use to check out Orate. You can get 15% off your first Orate purchase. Go to oratenewyork.com/Taylor and use promo code Taylor. Again, that's 15% off your first Orate purchase. Go to AURATE New-York.com and use promo code Taylor. And we can get back to the show. It's almost kind of what you talk about a little bit in terms of like processing it to make sure like you're ready to leave and to say goodbye to that thing, whatever it is almost kind of like this mourning process too. I think that oftentimes we start before we actually make that decision to leave something. Yeah.
Well, that's a great segue into Taylor's topic. So I will pass the torch.
Yeah. Yeah. Breakups are a blessing. I have ended my no longer current relationship. I don't know how you say that. I'm now single. Canada Man and I have decided to part ways, and it was a little over a year, like a few weeks over a year. And yeah, it was really a long time coming, actually. I am very thankful for the relationship in that I really did grow more than I ever have. And in parts of that were intentional. Parts of that were actually very unhealthy. But all of it in all, I would say I am really thankful for, because I feel like there's this sense of clarity now that I haven't had in past breakups, I guess. There was always like this doubt, I think, in past breakups of always like, is this really the right decision? Like, you know, going back and forth a little bit. And in this one, I haven't experienced that. I think maybe I felt like that when I was still in it. You know, it's October now. We were together since last September. And since March, I've been unhappy. So it was like, when I looked at the accumulation of the time that we had been together, it was like, for over half of this relationship, I haven't been happy. And it's not getting any better. It's just getting worse and worse. It's like, how much longer do I really want to do this for? Like, I want more than this. I'm worthy of more than this. I wouldn't want a friend to stay in this. And then it just really got to a point where every single person in my life was like, you need to walk away from this. And I've never had that. Even, I mean, people have always like had, you know, their opinions, my relationships and whatnot, but I've never had a relationship where literally every single one of my friends and family were like, this is not good for you. I don't see this for you. I don't like this for you. Like, you know, in a way, like, you need to really think about this and make a decision.
So I know the ins and out of your relationship, but for the listeners who don't know, for the listeners who are like, oh my God, I thought everything was going well. Instagram, your feed showed us to...
I did still try to make it apparent on Instagram. Like, I did post about the fact that we were in, I wouldn't even say necessarily couples therapy. It was him coming to my therapist with me. But we were trying some things, and I did try to make it obvious that, like, it's not super happy and dandy all the time. And certainly some relationships are like that. Okay. I think most are not. They have their ups and their downs. And I try to be vulnerable and I try to be authentic with the fact that sometimes relationships are really tough and sometimes you do have those lows. Like, I try to show both of those, but then I just kind of stopped showing it altogether.
So when you say that you were unhappy since March, again, I'm acting as if like I don't know the story, but I do. What made you finally say it's time for me to walk away? Was it mutual or was it a conversation that you brought up?
So I brought up the conversation. I had attempted the morning after my birthday to break up with him. I'm so bad at breakups.
Oh, me too. I self-sabotage until they realize, okay, I can't deal with her, so I'm going to break up with her. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yep. I usually feel like I end up manipulating the situation so that they then think it's their idea and then I don't have to do it because it's just too hard most times. And most times I'm still like pretty emotionally connected to the point where I'm like, no, like maybe I can just like make these things work. But yeah, I had attempted the morning after my birthday to break up with him, and then the end of that conversation was just like, we're gonna keep trying.
But you weren't fully ready. I think you had, since March, you had this feeling that something was up. And I remember you asking me, and I was so, as a friend, I would hear the good and the bad, and I didn't ever side with you. I never sided with him. I was always playing the devil's advocate because I'm like, sometimes we get into the state where we get really insecure, right? So I just never knew, like, okay, is it, because I know how Taylor can get. If you're, she wants love and she's deserving of all this love and all this attention and all these, like, these gestures, but then she can get uncomfortable sometimes if you do show it to her and she's like, well, do I run away from it? Do I receive it? And so I just wanted you to make sure that you, if you were going to walk away, that you were 100% ready with your decision. So I think in July, you knew there were certain things that were happening. Where you started connecting the dots, like, this isn't for me, or certain gestures weren't specifically done for your relationship.
I think what I realized in July was that we really didn't have a foundation of a friendship. I think I thought we had. I also realized that I'm never going to be prioritized.
Which he also said.
No. I know that work, he's in startup life. I understand, like, I get that work is always going to be a priority and will likely always be like a consistent number one priority. But to me, that doesn't necessarily mean that I would never be a number one priority at a time. Like, I think even in my head, I think my birthday was like, oh, well, this is an opportunity where, like, the day is about me, where, like, you do step out of your comfort zone to do things that maybe you don't like because you know that it's something that your partner would like, because you want to make your partner feel special. So you're going to do something intentional to make sure that your partner feels special and, like, do something. You know what I mean? Like, to me, don't be in a relationship if you're never going to prioritize your partner.
Right.
So I get it. You can have a bunch of shit going on in your life. You can have a ton of priorities, but guess what? You have to manage those priorities. And if you're never going to make your partner or your relationship a priority for even a fucking day, it's irresponsible.
Right.
And I said that actually in that conversation. I was like, I think what we're doing is, like, emotionally irresponsible. All right, so it's time for a short break here, and I am incredibly, incredibly excited to share this new sponsor of the podcast with you all. I unfortunately am traveling right now, so my package is at home, but I am beyond excited to go home for it. You guys know I absolutely freaking love all my plants, and I am a crazy plant lady, loud and proud, and I get messages all the time about like, how do you take care of your plants? How do you know which plants to get? And I'm super excited to share with you guys about Plant Package. So if you're perhaps a young professional who lives in an apartment with limited space and you feel like gardening is not an option for you, or if you're just looking for some curb appeal as a new couple and don't know where to start, maybe your parents looking for a quick educational and relatively messy-free activity to do with your kids, perhaps you're just interested in gardening but get overwhelmed by all the plant options and garden centers, and maybe you're short on time. And Plant Package is, if you fall under any of those categories, Plant Package, I think, is something you're going to be interested in. They do all the prep work of gardening for you, so there's no need to go to the garden center. They select durable seasonal plants, which is a big thing for me that I love, that it's seasonal. It includes a stylish container, which sometimes those are like the most expensive piece of a plant. It's just the freaking pot. But they send just the right amount of soil and plant food, and they include instructions for assembly and plant care, so you can be sure to follow that. The plants can thrive indoors or outdoors, and the subscription options are really suited to fit your style. So you choose whether a box comes monthly, every other month, or seasonally, and you can also do it as like a gift if you have, you know, a plant lady in your life that you want to make feel special or gift to a friend. I think plants as gifts are absolutely amazing. But each plant package is themed and it features a variety of plants. So for like October right now, the current theme is Witch's Brew. So they have a bunch of like spooky fall plants with, you know, colors of purples and pinks and browns and blacks. And in September, it's a fall foliage with bright colors and a white wicker basket planter. And for each month, it's just like a super adorable theme that fits the season. So right now, I want to help you guys out. I'm so excited about this partnership here with Plant Package. They're offering listeners of Let's Talk About It $15 off your first plant package. So be sure to visit plantpackage.com and use code Taylor to redeem at checkout. This offer is also valid on gifts. So, you know, just treat it's a stage of transition in people's lives in fall right now, and maybe someone, you know, could use a little plant in their life. Again, that's $15 off your first plant package. Visit plantpackage.com and use code Taylor to redeem at checkout. And hopefully I'll be sharing more with you guys about Plant Package in the future. So we can get back to the show now.
I think you were bringing up some point. I think it was a time in your relationship where you had built up all of this, like, all these emotions, and you tried to express it to him, which he wasn't being receptive towards. He didn't see your point of view, even when, like, there were certain things that I either witnessed and I would express, and, you know, he wouldn't see your point of view until you had that conversation with him at post-breakup, where you were both in more of a neutral space.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like, to answer your initial question there, too, of, like, knowing when it was the time, it was, like, it had been a buildup of a lot. And then, honestly, it was, like, we did our 1 year. And even that, I was, like, this is just not... Like, I didn't feel connected. It didn't feel like a happy thing. I still felt like I was, you know, the last thing on the totem pole, and there was just such a lack of affection. There was a lack of connectedness, and it was after that we then came to Ottawa with you and Josh, and then that experience too, like feeling very validated in some things from your guys' feedback a little bit, and feeling like, okay, wow, yeah, like you were the last person, because like you said, you were always like very supportive and looking at things from all sides with me. And it was like, then you were literally the last person to be like, Tay, like what the heck?
And I think I was so affected by that too, because I was always team Canada Man. I was always team you and him. And there were so many things that I remember, like interesting quirks that you guys both have, and like interests that like not a lot of people do have.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's so amazing to be able to share those things together and to grow. But I didn't feel like you were growing together. I felt like, yes, it's important to be two individuals on your own individual path, but you have to have a crossroad. And I didn't feel like that crossroad was ever there.
This is what makes me so sad that you weren't at Fireside this year with us, because in Saul's episode with me, he talked about interdependency, again, kind of how he did last year in his speech. And in his episode, it's like 2 or 3 episodes behind this one. If you guys want to go back, it's called Interdependency and like taking care of yourself as a caregiver. And that's what he talked about. He talked about that Venn diagram that, like, yes, you're a circle and your partner's a circle, like a full, complete circle, but there has to be that overlap, and that's the interdependency. And that is 100% where I was like, I don't feel like I can depend on you for anything. Literally, even after I got done recording that episode, it was cold. We're at camp. Like, the ground is wet. I go to sit down, and he's, like, laying on the floor with a blanket. And, like, I'm like, oh, can I, like, sit on the blanket? Like, can you open the blanket? Would not even open up the freaking blanket for me. And I'm just like, dude.
So when you love someone, like, I love Taylor so much, and people are like, oh, well, you guys, like, just date. And, like, I could love a girlfriend who's a female just as much as I love my, like, my family or my boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
And so when I picked Taylor up from the airport, she's like, please put the heat on in the car because I'm super cold. So I made sure, like, I was like, I had a migraine, so I had my cold air on my side, but I'm like, hey, let me make sure she comes in and she's super cozy because I love you, and I want to make sure, like, you're received in a way that I know you want to be received.
Yeah. And that's the thoughtfulness. That's
right.
the thoughtfulness that is so important in any kind of relationship, to just have that level of connection. And that was so lacking.
So I
never got that.
When that's missing from either you realize you're not able to give your partner that, that's a red flag for you. Like, why am I not able to give my partner that? Yeah. And I think oftentimes we tell people who are feeling that way to do that reflection, like, why am I not receiving that? But it's really, both parties have to understand, why am I not able to give it?
Yeah.
What am I missing from my partner for me to be able to give the love that I know that they deserve and that they want?
Yeah. And I think it was a combination of that plus several instances where I was, trust was lost, where I was disrespected, and in several different ways and at several different times throughout our relationship. And for me, it was also kind of, after our 1-year anniversary at Fireside, then after our trip to Ottawa with you, then another thing kind of happened like the week after that. And then I was just like, yeah, this isn't, like, nothing's getting better. And if I think about if Vanessa was in this relationship, like, I would just want to hug you, and I would just want to, like, nurture you, and I would just want to be like, what are you doing? Like, you don't have to do this. Like, you want so much more than this, and, like, you're worthy of so much more than this, and, like, it has to be a give and a take, and, like, you can't just, like,
Which I think is a great point that you bring up, because we were talking about this before we started recording. As a friend, it is so imperative for you to, it's such like a slippery slope, because you want to make sure you're showing support to your friend and their relationship, but also you don't want to come in and, because I know I can be someone who's very strong-minded and say, no, it's this or that, like this or that, and that is it. And with you, first of all, ever since I met you, I feel like I've emotionally developed as well, and I've been able to understand my feelings and my thoughts a lot more. So I was able to put myself outside of your relationship and say, okay, let me be Canada man looking into this, and this is probably how he feels, and this is probably how you feel. But at a certain point when I felt and I witnessed the lack of connection between the both of you, it made me really sad for you, because I know how devoted you are as a friend, as a nurturer, as a lover. And so that's when I said, it's time for me to say something. And so I did. And I think it's important as a friend to be honest, but be very gentle with your words, and be, Yeah, so just to be honest, because you don't want to, I remember like when I would break up or if someone would break up with me, only after the breakup, people would say, oh my God, that person was terrible, or oh my God, I'm happy, or oh my God, congratulations. I'm like, why didn't you guys tell me this earlier on? And love is blind sometimes. So sometimes you do need your friend to tell you, hey, wake up, look, this is not right.
Yeah. And I appreciate it because even in the way that you told me, I still felt like if I did stay with him, that it wasn't like I couldn't tell you things anymore. And I think it's like to being blind, yes. And I think there's also sometimes a lot of like manipulation that happens, and sometimes perhaps even there's a little bit of gaslighting where you're doubting yourself and you're, questioning like core bits of who you are and your own perception and things, to where you get even more blinded and like the vision is just so blurry. And that's where I think some of those things become, I feel like I can identify some of those things more now because being out of it, it feels like I can see clearer. And that's part of what I said to him, like I feel like I see all of this so much clearer. All right, it's time for a short break here. I want to share with you guys a little bit of an educational resource for you. You guys know I have my master's, and often I have guests on who also have their master's and have been able to specialize in their career and really take their career to the next level. So if you are interested in getting a master's degree and just kind of helping, get another step up in your career with getting this education, or just interested in doing it in general, I am going to highly recommend here getting a master's degree in a very easy way, much easier than perhaps the route I would have even taken, at Ashford University. It's convenient and it's flexible. It's online, so it allows you to learn at your own pace. And I enjoy doing the online classes because it just, allows you that flexibility with whatever your lifestyle is. You can study wherever you're the most comfortable learning. And I also super appreciate that at Ashford, it's just one course at a time. So it's 6-week-long courses. They allow you to take one course at a time, and being enrolled in one class at Ashford means you're actually considered a full-time student. So that's amazing. And one thing that I was super particular at looking in and getting my master's was, because I was going to be in a counseling program, I felt like getting the GRE was kind of irrelevant. And at Ashford, no standardized tests are required. So you don't have to worry about having that extra step into getting into the program, which just makes it a lot easier to get your master's. So it's not required, no standardized tests required. And Ashford is also accredited, fully accredited by WACH, Senior College and University Commission. So if you're interested, you can achieve your master's degree while balancing work and home life. That's always a difficult balance sometimes, but you can do that with getting your degree at Ashford University. So you can enroll now by going to ashford.edu/Taylor. That's ashford.edu/Taylor to start your master's degree today. Again, be sure to check them out at ashford.edu/Taylor. We can get back to the show.
Okay, so people listening who are either in your shoes right now going through a breakup or wanting the breakup but just don't have it in them to do it, what kind of advice would you give someone who knows they're unhappy? Would you tell them to stick it out for a little bit to see whether it's, a bump in the road, or if they've been unhappy for X amount of time, like girl or guy or whoever, time to walk away?
First, I would ask, have you talked to them about it? Mm-hmm. If you haven't communicated what you're unhappy about, you can't expect your partner to know what you want or know what you need. And this is a key part of this. Your partner needs to turn toward your need. Like, certainly there may be some things they're literally not able to do. It might not be something they're able to do all the time. But if you communicate to your partner, this is something, like, this is a way that I receive love. This is something that would really mean a lot to me. Like, I could really use some of your support in this. And if your partner then turns and sees that and looks at it and judges it and tries to basically convince you otherwise, and then makes you question yourself in what you need, red flag.
Yeah.
And that is too much of what I experienced in this past relationship, where you know, I know the basics, right, of like how to kind of build a relationship and how to, you know, nurture this connection and how to repair things when things have gotten really difficult and there has been conflict. And even my knowledge of that sometimes wasn't like respected or listened to. And yeah, it's like your needs do matter in a relationship, and like your partner, at least for me, like I want to know what my partner's wants and needs are, because I do want them to be happy in our relationship. And I also hope that at the basics of who I am and how I treat them, that makes them happy too.
I think for me, the biggest thing that was lacking was you weren't seen.
Yeah. Well, I was seen, but it was more of a potential of what I could be.
Yeah.
And what he wanted me to be.
Yeah. I just felt like as a best friend looking in, you weren't seen for what you are and all the potential that you already have.
Yeah.
And all the amazing things that you can bring in a relationship and in a friendship. Like, I witness it as a friend. And I know that you do more when you're in a relationship. I mean, like, obviously, when you're in a romantic relationship, there's that connection there. So that's what hurt me the most for you. And that's when I said, no, like, this she needs either to have a conversation or hopefully realize that this isn't the relationship for her.
Yeah. And I think there's a few things I want to share that I think are important around this. For anyone that's ever felt like they've been done wrong in a relationship, or that they felt like, you know, they were betrayed or disrespected in some way, there were phases of that for me where I felt like up on this high horse, right? Like I was disrespected, like, oh my God, where you kind of want to put the other person down in a way, right? And be like, they don't deserve me. Like they lost out on something awesome. Like, and sometimes you do have like your girlfriends that will like build you up on that, right? And I think,
Me?
I think there's like, I think that there really is something to look at there with that. And through my reflection with it, a lot of that is out of ego. And a lot of that was like trying to seek some kind of justice for yourself. And that's so much extra weight to carry. And so I was feeling that, right? I was feeling like kind of petty and salty and just like, oh my God, like I gave all this to someone. And like, yes, you have a thought.
Well, explain why you were salty. You don't have to go into details of it, but you did find out something that made you salty. I mean, you don't wake up and say like, oh, you don't look in the mirror and say like, I'm going to be salty today. Like,
did you think I was salty before I found that out?
No. I think throughout time, you're like, I know I deserve someone who blah, 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 blah. But once you found something out, you were like, I think that was the...
I did snap a little at that.
Yeah, that was basically...
Validated.
Yeah. I think it felt validating to know that you made the right decision. Yeah. And you were just like, oh, like so angry because you gave it your all and you're like, oh, I feel so disrespected right now. And then once you went to bed and woke up the next morning and the dust settled, that's when you were able to have a conversation where you're able to walk away from it in much better terms.
Yeah, because the point for me is like, you don't want to be in that salty, petty position where you're feeling this resentment. I know, like for me, I basically found out kind of, it's interesting. I feel like the last several months I've just gone through like finding out bits and bits and bits of information like from other people about like the reality of our relationship or what people saw of our relationship, where it was just kind of like, it was very valuable to see other people's perspectives, right? And to get this truth. And I'm very thankful that the people in my life and in his life were honest with me. Very, very much appreciate that. But yeah, where basically I just had kind of found out more of like the truth of his feelings and like earlier on what he was feeling about us. And in a way felt very deceived. And a bit taken for granted. But yeah, it was for me, letting go of some of that pettiness and letting go of that, like, I don't want to walk around and carry this, like, I was disrespected, I was betrayed. Like, I don't want to walk around with that heaviness. That will only stunt my own personal growth, and it'll only stunt me being able to connect with people in the future if I hold on to that and if I identify with that. So there was for sure like a solid 12-hour period of like basking in that and being like petty as hell with my girlfriends. There was definitely that period, and I allowed myself to like flow through that. But I think oftentimes that period lasts a lot longer for people sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful that he and I were able to discuss our relationship and to see each other and to kind of have this moment of closure that definitely started off with some hostility and saltiness and frustration, but moved through that to these walls coming down and to honesty and to connectedness through that honesty. And, you know, we like just kind of stood there and hugged each other and cried. And it's the first time really I've ever seen him show like some depth of emotion related to us, which felt nice knowing that, like, you know, he did care about us and our relationship, and that I was cared about, but it was also just the sadness of, you know, it's a little too late. And it would have been great if you could have just showed me some of this throughout our relationship and put me first, even just for, you know, an hour of your time. Just plan a fucking date.
But no, he did. And I will give him that. At the beginning, he was very thoughtful. He would message me, find out what your address is. And like, I don't remember what it was. It was hotcakes or something. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know that about Taylor. Like, I feel like a terrible friend. And I remember thinking like, wow, I want a Canada man.
Yeah. All right, it's time for a short break here. I want to share with you guys a little bit about CBD. You might have heard me share this company in the past, and I'm absolutely loving using them. They are called Hemp Fusion, and they are not like a lot of the other CBD brands who just offer CBD, because Hemp Fusion infuses their CBD with other things depending on what the product is, but they create the products to help with specific things like stress or sleep or energy. So they'll add things in with the CBD to make it an all-around better product that adds up to a better day for you. So the one that I have, it's like a ginger turmeric, and it is so freaking tasty. It's vegan. It's liquid. They also have like the liquid capsules. And for me, like, I don't like to take pills, so I very much appreciate that. And they're available both online and at natural product retailers near you. So would love for you guys to check them out. They ship anywhere in the U.S., and you can use promo code Taylor for 20% off your first order and free shipping at hempfusion.com. That's promo code Taylor for 20% off your first order and free shipping at hempfusion.com. So be sure to check them out if you guys are interested in some CBD, and we can get back to the show. Yeah, the first, we talked about this, and it was very, I don't know, the whole thing was very sad, but it felt good to have this conversation with him. And I told him, I said, you know, yeah, the first like 4 to 6 months that we were together obviously is more the honeymoon phase. But I think for me, I thought, you know, this is still a foundation that we're building upon. And instead, all of those things that happened in that period of time just literally disappeared like in the blink of an eye. But it was those thoughtfulness things that, you know, Brilliant Earth is one of my favorite jewelry companies. Like, I would always joke, you know, like, I don't want a Neil Lane ring. I want a fucking Brilliant Earth ring. Like, someone that like listens to me, right? And, you know, values the things that I value. And he took note of that. And for Valentine's Day, got me a necklace from Brilliant Earth. And I was like, oh my God, like, you listened. And it was so sweet. And it's not about the money thing. It's not about the fact that he purchased something, but it's the thought that, you know, it's the fact that he listened and was thoughtful about what I like.
Exactly. And I actually just thought about this, Mike. It could have been a Kit Kat bar, which So Josh got me, I told him that I don't like flowers. I'm like, haha, that's so weird. I was on a dating show that gave out roses and I don't like flowers. Well, I don't appreciate them as much as I should. Yeah. And he gave me a bouquet of flowers, a bouquet of Kit Kat bars. And it was...
Okay, you're not even telling this how it was, okay? She was literally in Seattle, And he like messaged me and was like, what's your address? Like, I'm going to send Vanessa like a bouquet of Kit Kats. And I was like, oh Lord. I was like, here we go.
Okay, but so he did send me that. And so while you were talking before, I was thinking of Freight did do all of these thoughtful things at the beginning of the relationship, which is amazing. But anyone listening that is jumping into a relationship or just in a relationship right now, a new relationship, if you're going to do these thoughtful things at the beginning, be consistent with them. Don't do them to audition. Don't do them to get praise from your partner and their family and their friends. Do it because this is something that you're like, oh, this is going to be me. Yeah. This is me. I'm not doing it because I want to get attention or praise from it. And so Josh still does things like this. Yeah. And it's going to be a year that we're together. And he's still very much thoughtful when it comes to... you know, Kit Kats or whatever it is.
Yeah, when it comes to you, he's very thoughtful. And he takes that second to, like, set himself aside and think, what can I do that's going to make Vanessa feel special today or make her feel happy? Or, like, how can I show her that I love her? And you have to be intentional about that. And it has to be authentic. And that's where I think often in those first 6 months, people do kind of put on a little bit of a show because they're maybe trying to woo or they're just trying to like get to that point where they feel like they have you. And then once they have you, like they don't know how to continue that. They don't know how to continue to invest in the relationship. And maybe they think that they don't need to invest in the relationship because they're in it and that is enough. It's not enough for me.
Nope, not enough for me either. I just, nope. And the thing is, we're not, I remember you were asking me, am I needy? Am I a needy person?
Yeah,
like,
I was told I have this like really, really long list of needs. And I was like, I think it just seems like it's a long list of needs because you're not meeting any of them.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine and I was asking her if she was happy in her relationship. And so let's say you're in a relationship right now and you're like not super happy. I gave her this analogy. I said, you have your partner right now that you're in a relationship with. Now imagine this magical creature that exists. And you can go to this magical creature to get whatever you're not getting from your partner. What are those things that you would go to this magical creature for? Is it hugs? Is it attention? Is it quality time? So if those are the answers, then you have to be able to communicate that to your partner to let them know, like, you don't want to, and that's how cheating starts. That's how people who just, are on the path of unhappiness where they know these things are missing and they're seeking it elsewhere, whether it's like, I don't know, on the internet or... Yeah. So my question to Taylor is, well, no, this is actually a really good one because is when you're now recently single, like very newly single.
Well, so I'll say this.
Well, hold on. In public, I guess like on paper, right? Newly single?
Yeah. I would say it is very recent. Yes, it doesn't feel recent,
but that's okay.
And I will also say this too, though, that the fact that we just, literally like yesterday, the day before recording this episode, was when he and I had that conversation, saw each other, and just had this like moment of closure that we did leave things off.
We burped at the same time.
Okay. But that we did leave things off like in a very good place and that it felt like good closure and I felt like I walked away feeling like this is the most closure I've ever had and the most like free and just at peace I've ever felt with parting from someone. And that it felt like I literally just told myself, I was like, let it be. I was like, this is all that needs to be done. Everything was said. I got the validation and I got the confirmation that he acknowledged that not once did he ever prioritize me or our relationship. And, I got reassurance from him about how he felt about me. And we both acknowledged that we wanted different things and that we had very different ideas of what we wanted our relationship to look like and how we could like make each other happy in this relationship. And that we were just so disconnected from each other and that there still is love there. I will always have love for him, but that he is not someone I want as my partner, as my like primary romantic partner. That's not that's not for us. And he'll still be in my life in some capacity. There's still so many qualities about him that I do love, and that, I think he's a fantastic friend to all of his friends.
That he is.
And I told him, I said, I think I might be more satisfied as your friend than I ever was as your girlfriend. It'll be interesting to see like how we do move into this transition of our relationship. But I'm so grateful that like he and I are able to do that. I haven't, with other relationships, I haven't had that moment of closure.
But that's not for everyone. Staying friends with an ex right after a breakup, I mean, this is recent, right after breakup is not for everyone. I'm friends with most of my exes, but that took me, my ego was so like, like, no,
in that phase that I was just talking
you
about.
You cannot have me in your life if you don't want me as your GF. You can only have me in your life as your girlfriend or potential wifey. And now I'm like, yeah, I think you came into my life because you showed me so much that I need to learn about myself. Every person that I have met has led me to my now boyfriend. Every person that broke my heart led me to The Bachelor. So there's a reason for things, and in that moment, you don't want to believe it. You want to believe that that person's going to come back to you. You want to believe that that person desperately misses you, and that's your ego speaking. And that was I had such a huge ego, and I mean I kind of still do it. Well, you know what I mean, if I'm being honest. But that's something that I'm very well aware of. So I know sometimes I have to check myself and say, Vanessa, like, chill out. But that's not for everyone. Well, speaking of breakups and speaking of past relationships, have you, since your last public breakup with Derek, have you heard from him? Have you guys spoken? Has he reached out? Have you reached out?
I don't know, Vanessa, have we?
Again, guys, I'm just asking because I know all the answers. If not, we wouldn't have this episode. Have you guys reached out to each other? Again, I know the answer. And would he be someone that you would consider dating again?
Would I, Vanessa?
I think. Can I answer this question?
I'm scared. I don't know what you're going to say.
I'm going to answer this question. So I think there are parts of the relationship with Derek where you really do and did appreciate. There were parts of the relationship where you did appreciate. Parts of the relationship that maybe Canada Man didn't have that Derek was able to give you.
Yeah, well, a lot of, like, when I look at this relationship now with Canada Man and when I exit it, I realize, that, like, I have been, like, craving that affection, and that it was really difficult to be in a relationship and not have that affection, and that it was something that I experienced with Derek and that I felt very strongly with him.
But I don't think that you would date Derek again. Would you?
What? Is there something I don't know?
Is there something I don't know? No, he hasn't. You guys haven't spoken?
No.
The
last time we spoke, we had to, like, halt communication. So it got very toxic. It was very bad. For a minute. So we never had, we haven't spoken in over a year. It was last September. I was in New York, and we had split up in that was May or June or something. And then I was like trying to get my stuff back, and I was like, can you just ship it? And blah, blah. And then I was in New York, and then I was like, and it just didn't. I attempted to have that closure conversation. I attempted to be like, we should maybe see each other and all of that, because even, the last visit that we had, we hadn't, like, we broke up, but then things were still kind of like unclear. And then it kind of like, for sure was like over the phone and whatnot. So it was like, for me, I was like, like, we should have like this closure conversation. And like, we did have that foundation that felt like he was a best friend and that we had a strong friendship foundation. But then we didn't see each other when I was there in New York. And then I had to like hand over communication to a family member, and we haven't spoke since. But I talked to some of my friends, but
I feel like, and I bumped into Derek when I was in Napa. And I thought it was going to be awkward because I'm like, but he was very nice to me. And
of course,
I mean, I wasn't in the relationship. So I think the relationship that you have with Derek is the one, like the kind of the relationship that I have with Nick, where it's such an anomaly because it's not a relationship that we had outside of the TV show. It was the only relationship that we had on a TV show, an engagement on a TV show, a breakup publicly. So that it's hard to really apply some of the things that I know that I've been through in former relationships to my relationship with Nick. Because I talk to all my exes and I'm not in communication with Nick. And that did make me sad because if anything, like he was the only person I've ever been engaged to. And the only person that I experienced this level of life that I have now.
And now that is still a part of your life, and that this was someone that like you entered into it with and that really got those things and like could be somewhat of a source of support to like handle that kind of stuff. And then you had to like figure out how to go through all of it on your own.
Yeah. But I think after the breakup for me, it was such a mutual breakup between Nick and I. And we knew that we were mourning the loss of the relationship before it actually happened. So it was an easier process for us to walk away from. And it was a respectful relationship in the sense that at least I don't think we've ever bashed each other or like talked poorly about each other publicly. And, you know, obviously there are parts of the relationship that were hard and that were not easy to go through, but that is because of the level of stress that is involved when you're dating someone in the public eye. And, you know, it was my first time coming off of a show like that. And I think it was like his third time or fourth. So for him, he's like, these are all the tools that you need to go through this. And I'm like, but I can't apply it. I didn't know how to deal with it. So it was a challenge. But it's hard to apply, I guess, what you went through with Canada Man. And being able to be on neutral terms and get that validation when you weren't able to get that with Derek because it was such a different relationship.
Yeah, it's a whole other ball game in and of itself. And it's, you know, I think similar to you and Nick, like, Derek, we both knew that for a while that things weren't going to like pan out and that it was heading in the direction it was heading. But then I think... I don't know. For me, there's so many layers of it. And I think I struggled to really believe that he really actually like saw us being something. And like after my friend was in New York, met up with him and whatnot. And just like from what he told me, like he really thought, he really genuinely thought that like we would be together. And I think that's like so hard for me to grasp. And I feel like I'm really close to starting my period because I like feel like I'm going to be emotional now. But I don't know. I think there's like so many layers. This is so bad to do this episode with you because I'm saying all these things, but you're you. There's so many layers when you do date someone publicly that I feel like I tried to reject or that I felt like, you know, okay, he doesn't really actually love me. He just loves like this idea of like what our relationship could be and like who we could be together like publicly and that it wasn't really me. And that's why like
with Derek or with Canada Man?
Yeah, with Derek. Okay. Well, and for Canada Man too, you know, that like that he saw what our relationship could be because of the opportunities that I have and because of like the public presence and all this stuff. And I think, you know, it's so crazy. And like to look back now, like, my favorite times with Derek were like in Iowa with his family, you know, where like when he did come to Seattle to visit me and my family, where it was like, that was like just us being us, you know, and it wasn't like all this other stuff that just like creates all this extra noise around the relationship and even social media, you know, and, you know, Canada Man didn't even have an Instagram, which I was like, oh, that's amazing. Like,
but he did have a business.
Vanessa's about to pee herself.
Oh, God, that was good. I mean, listen, are we going to edit that part out or are we going to keep it? Listen, if we're being real.
That was a mic drop.
If we're being real.
I feel like you're making me cry.
Well, listen, my fear was you didn't want to feel, quote unquote, used for the opportunities that are a lot easier for you to get than someone like my boyfriend who, you know, doesn't understand how Instagram works.
Yeah.
So that was a fear of mine for you as an overprotective friend. And
that's so shitty, and it just adds a different layer of dating. And that's where, like, when people, you know, some people like made jokes and stuff about Derek going back on Paradise, and like, I get it, you know, I can't even imagine as a guy coming off the show that, like, chicks literally throw themselves at you, and how could you trust that? How could you trust that, like, this woman is really interested in you for you and not this image of you that she's already created in her head? Like, there's so many extra layers to it. And so it makes sense. That's why you go back on Paradise, because you feel like, oh, yeah, I mean,
safe.
Yeah, it feels so much safer. Certainly that person might want to date you because you have, like, the highest following, or because you're the most popular, or whatever. Like, you have to sort through some of that stuff maybe, but still, it feels like there's so much more of an understanding. And I know part of what we talked about last night that we were like, oh, we should talk about this in an episode, is like partners' families, like your relationship with your partner's family. And we won't get too much into that now, maybe an episode for another time. But, you know, that was something, like, dating someone from the show, like Derek's family, like, literally felt like my family.
Yeah.
This literally was the only relationship that I ever had that I was like, yeah, like, I genuinely feel accepted and, like, genuinely love his family. Like, his sister, like, felt like my sister. I don't even have a sister. But I was like, oh my God, like, I totally love Rachel. I have chosen sisters, yes, but, like, to be, like, you know, actually, like, considered family, and, like, of all my exes that have had siblings, you know, like, I've never, like, had that experience. And it was just, like, there wasn't this, like, weird judgment because of my lifestyle or being on the show or anything. It was like, they get it. It's such a different dynamic. And you really can't apply any of the shit from, you know, relationships pre-show to kind of post-show.
Right.
It's such a different experience.
And I do want to take back the comment I said about Canada Man, because listen, I think that's like an automatic thing, right? Like, even I think when I started dating Josh, like, be careful that, or I had dated someone else, like, be careful they're not dating you because of your status, but dating because, like, they know you, or because they're a fan of the show.
Because you're this shiny thing.
Right. So I only said that because that's the first thing that automatically comes to your head when I start dating someone, and that now
that's the first thing that comes to your head too. When I remember when I first started even talking to Canada Man when we were in Bali, and he was like, this was like 2-3 weeks after we met, and he was like, basically told me he was only focused on me and only wanted to, like, date me. And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, no. I was like, what? And you were like, girl, be careful. Like, you were like, girl. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, you think it's because I'm, like, shiny right now? And I think that's true for, like, dating, you know, you don't have to have been on The Bachelor or whatever to have that experience. Like, when things are new, they are shiny. But I think even going into now of, like, being newly single and navigating the dating waters, and how long do you wait? Like, I know I've had people ask me this before of, you know, how long do you wait until after a breakup before you start dating someone new? And I really think that the answer is different for everyone. Certainly there's, like, give space for yourself to grow. But I am a firm believer that, like, you have to be good on your own. And I feel like through this entire relationship with Canada Man, I've been on my own.
That's the worst feeling, when you're in a relationship but you feel so alone.
There wasn't any interdependency. I've been on my own this entire time. And to me, you learn so much through your relationships. You learn so much through every interaction that you have with someone. And I think you can still heal while dating. I think it's very important to be upfront and honest about that, and to be really intentional about doing that work on yourself, and not just jumping into something because you're trying to quickly heal a wound or fill a void. That's not how I view it. But, you know, I think allowing yourself to enjoy yourself
in all ways. I remember when I broke up, when my ex and I broke up, when I was 20, I think I was 24 years old. And I thought this was it. This was the love of my life, like, madly in love. And I was single for 3 years after that. And I remember people looking at me and saying like, oh, we really thought you guys were going to work out. I'm like, stop pitying me. I am so happy. I was so happy single. I was so happy learning who I was again, because I am someone that it made sense for me to go on the show like The Bachelor, because I do move really quickly in relationships. And so I do sometimes lose myself in the relationship. This is the first relationship where I feel like I'm my own person.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, as you were saying, you feel like you lose yourself. I was like, she hasn't, with Josh, she hasn't lost herself.
No.
Like, I feel like you've been here.
Yep. But this is the first relationship. And anyone listening who's like, oh, but I'm 20 something, I'm 30, I'm 32 years old, and I'm finally understanding what it is to be in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
I was constantly putting my needs aside, constantly putting my career aside to lift the person that I'm with. And then
that's me.
yeah, well, I know. And that's why I was telling you to not do that. Because I learned from my mistakes, and then it took me a while to get back to who's that fun-loving person that I felt like. You have to be in love with yourself. People are like, well, how are you happy? Like, how can you, what does it mean to be happy? What does it mean to truly love yourself? Like, I legit love my ass because there's cellulite on it, and I wouldn't change that. Like, I love hanging out with myself. I love, like, bumping into a wall by accident and laughing on my own. I love cooking with myself. I love going to the gym on my own. I love spending time on my own. Yeah. Do I love being in a relationship? Yes. When I was younger, I thought I needed to be in a relationship. Now I know that I want to be in one. I don't need to be in one. I'm financially stable. I'm emotionally stable. I have great friends, great family. I want someone that can be a part of that life.
Totally. And that's actually part of what I thought of as well, going into this like breakup conversation, was reminding myself, I don't need this. Is this what I want? Is this what I want? Do I want to stay in this the way that it is right now, being so unhappy for so long? Or do I want something different? Am I going to like say that I'm worthy of something different? And I was like, when I'm by myself, I 100% feel that. Like when we're long distance, when I'm by myself and I'm in Seattle, I would have these moments where I'm like, yeah, what am I doing?
My fear,
I don't need this, and I want something much different.
My fear for you, first of all, this is no way a bashing conversation of Canada Man, because you guys are on good terms.
Yeah, and all of these things that I've said here, he and I have said to each other.
And I mean, like, I just wanted the best for you, and I was such a huge fan of Canada Man up until I realized this is just not, they both deserve something different. Yeah. But my fear for you while you were in that relationship towards the end was, is this going to become her norm? Is she going to think that she is needy? Is she going to think that she doesn't deserve, the attention or the hugs or a birthday card or a thoughtful text message before going to bed and stuff like that? And I'm like, no, that's what she knows that she wants. That's what she knows that she needs. And I didn't want you to think that was going to become your new normal. And
it's like, it's what I've experienced before, but it was also what like I did experience with him, and then it just went away. And then I had empathy for all the things he was going through and the struggles that he was dealing with emotionally. But then at a certain point, like, he really wasn't showing up for himself anymore.
But he was also going through personal things, which I said that I things that I know I could have related to that have gone on in my personal life. Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, if you want to talk about it, sure. But
at this point, everyone's gone through divorce. Like, this is what, like, for me, yes, there's a certain level of privacy, but it's also like, it's such a normal thing people experience. Like, you're only creating more shame and like loneliness and stigma around this if you try to like protect it,
No, I totally agree with you. He just wasn't my ex-boyfriend, so I just wasn't sure if I was able to say it, but I could relate to that. Yeah. And I was like, he's 20, in his late 20s. I was 18 when it happened. Yeah. And so I do understand the impact divorce has on you. I mean, I still talk about it. I'm not in therapy right now, but when I was in therapy this year, I was still talking about my parents' divorce and how it has affected me and my self-esteem and my relationships. And so that was something that I know he was experiencing that maybe he wasn't realizing that was affecting his mental well-being, his emotional well-being, and his relationship ultimately with you.
Yeah.
So, but you were aware of that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And I had grace for that, right? But then I realized, and I did a post kind of discussing some of this concept a few weeks ago where, you can have so much empathy for someone going through a difficult time, but it doesn't excuse them disrespecting you or invalidating you or hurting you in some way. That, just because you're going through a tough time doesn't give you the pass to treat people that way. So for me, it was like, yeah, I can have empathy for it, and I have these skills, and I can understand this, and I understand some of the things that he isn't even aware of yet. But at the end of the day, it's like, no, I still want different for me. That's okay that he can't do this for him, and that he can't do this for me, or that he won't in some cases, but that I want different for myself. And so, what am I going to do about that so that I am in a happier, better place where I'm not feeling like, all these other things we've already talked about.
Well, like you said, I think your relationship with him now on a friendship level is going to be a lot healthier.
Yes.
Where you're going to both want to support each other. Totally. Each other's careers.
Yeah. I still have been supporting his career since
after the breakup. Yep. And I think, and I personally, before your conversation that you had with him last night, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm never going to see or hear from him again. Yeah. But I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like we might even just do like another couples, like quote unquote, like, let's go hang out in Ottawa or whatever. And I am happy of that because I also too, as a friend, do carry some burden for my friends. And I don't want my friends to be upset. I don't want them to be anything but neutral after a breakup. So I'm like, let me carry that hate. Let me carry all that anger. I'll do it for you.
Carry that pettiness, girl.
Girl, I'll carry all the pettiness for you. And I'm like, I really don't want to do that. And so I'm so happy you guys did have that conversation because I'm like, yeah, in many ways.
Now you don't have to carry that.
Now I don't have to carry it. But in many ways, you guys have so many weird interests to me that are weird. Like this. She came here and I'm like, please take care of my plants. I don't know. She's like, harvest. I'm like, what does that even mean? Harvest.
Harvest your plants. Yeah, so we for sure had a little bit of an unconventional relationship, and we definitely have a lot of like things that we value in common, like sustainability. And there's so much, that I appreciate that just is him. That I value in a friend and that I want in a friend. And we honestly will continue to be friends. And who knows? Maybe sometimes it's more than friends. Maybe sometimes it's less than friends.
You don't have to put a label on it right now. And I think, but as friends, you'll feel more compelled and comfortable to call each other out on your shit.
Well, this is what I told him. I said, he's not friends with any of his exes. And I was like, I'm friends with all of mine except one.
Yep. Me too.
And I told him, I said, I know you weren't super receptive to my feedback during our relationship, but I think with some time, maybe not in the next few months, but maybe in a year, maybe in 2 years, maybe in your next relationship, you're going to be really fucking thankful that I'm still in your life to be able to give you this feedback to help you reflect on how you were in our relationship and how you can grow personally as a person and as a human, because I love you and I only want the best for you. And you also know that like, I'm not just pulling this shit out of my ass. Like, that I'm doing this because I care about you, and I'm doing this because because I understand you. And that's something I have super valued about having my exes in my life is that, during even this relationship with Canada Man, I can call back Ian, my boyfriend from college, and who's also literally a therapist, and we can like talk, and I can be like, how did you feel when I did this in our relationship? Or did you notice that did I make you feel this way in our relationship? Like, and it can just kind of help reassure things. And it can also just help you learn different things for your next relationship. And I think even one of the things that we were talking about a little bit earlier about you not wanting me to think that like that was my normal now. And noticing that even now as I go forward with dating, that it's like, yeah, it is taking me a second to like warm up to the fact that people
notice
expressing, that people are like expressing like affection, and that they can like communicate that to me. And then I'm like, oh my God, what does that mean? What are they saying? They see that in me? Like they see like, and it's exciting.
I think as you get older, I'm 32 now, and I mean, I'm not old, but you get, I'm a lot wiser than I was in my 20s.
In the last few years since I met you.
Yes, a lot wiser. And I was someone that would hold on to that pettiness and like, what's the point of being friends with your exes? Or like, why would someone I'm dating who's friends with their ex? And it took me a while to come around it and say, listen, I'm good friends with one of my exes, and I was the first person he called when he found out his girlfriend was pregnant. And I'm like,
I remember that.
Yeah. I'm like, I was so happy for him because he is an amazing dad, and I knew he was always going to be an amazing dad. And for him to have shared that information with me, I was like, I don't want to enter your relationship, but I want to meet your baby, and I'm just so excited for you. And so you want to be able to share those pieces of information that were so important in your relationship. Like there's certain things that I would, want to share with someone that I either dated or, which I think is a nice thing to do. But it does take time, and not everyone can get there. And I totally get that.
Yeah. And that's what, like, I knew Derek wasn't at that point. I knew we couldn't do that with each other. And I know even for Canada Man, like, it's going to take him a few months even. I think we talked about this literally in the car last night where I was like, yeah, like, he introduced me to Big Mouth, and, like, we would watch Big Mouth on Netflix together. And, like, yesterday before we had that conversation, I was feeling petty, and I was like, I can't fucking watch Big Mouth now. Like, it's just going to remind me of him, and it's going to make me annoyed, and it's going to make me, like, sad. And, like, I don't want to face that stuff. And then once that wall's down, it's like, it's so much better.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, like, I'm excited to watch season 3 of Big Mouth now because it reminds me of, like, when we watched it together and we had those great memories, and, like, we can share that with each other and it, like, not be this weird thing.
But see, you're so good at being able to transition from relationship to friendship so quickly. I'm still a little bit weirded out if, let's say, Josh is friends with one of his exes, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Tell me. And then once I'm someone that needs to know the whys, like why?
Yeah.
Like,
well, hopefully
why
they know the why.
Exactly.
They should know the why.
Like, why is it important? Why do you have a friendship? Like, why are you guys communicating on this particular subject?
Yeah.
And if I understand the whys, and I'm also part of that why, and I don't like to feel left out. Like, I want to be part of, I want to know, like, who was your ex? Like, how can we be friends, you know?
Yeah.
And my ex knows Josh. They know each other. And I'm like, I'm so happy you guys know each other.
Yeah.
That made me so happy.
See, all my exes are in different states, but, I mean, Canada Man met one person that I'm potentially interested in.
Are we going to get into that? No. So should we move on from this conversation?
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Taylor to be in this
it's fall.
It's
a state of transition.
It's a state of... I really love fall. Yeah. I love fall.
Okay, but I have a question for you.
Oh, boy.
Because we're talking about all these transitions.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
In my relationship?
I'm so incredibly... Not, like... I'm not going to say proud because that has, like, ownership, but, like, I'm proud for you. I'm not proud of you, but, like, I'm so proud for you and, like, excited for you that things have been going the way that they have been going with you and Josh, and that you guys have put in a lot of work. Both individually and as a couple, and that it's been so consistent, and that, like, you deserve all of that, and you're so incredibly worthy of all of that.
I love you, Tay.
I know, I love you too.
And
I love Josh.
Yeah. And he honestly, so the cutest thing happened the other day when he was holding the dog. Oh, no, it was Friday, yesterday. Well, when Taylor came in, he was holding the dogs. It was so cute. He was holding his dog, and he looks down, and he's like, you're going to meet someone so special today. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And I'm like, oh, my God, you think Taylor's special too? So he has such love for Taylor, and I'm going to start crying because Taylor has been through a lot with us. So it's nice to have someone that has experienced a friendship with me during the show, because we met on, like, really weird circumstances, but someone who you know me while I was in my single, before, while I was dating Nick, while we were dating Nick, and then when I got engaged, and then after the breakup, and then dating all these guys. Well, not all these guys, whatever. I dated a few.
You do, you girl.
Whatever. Not a big deal. And then I met Josh, and it was a kind of relationship where we really went like full speed.
You go from 0 to like 1,000.
Yeah. And so did he.
Yeah.
And so it was hard for me to pump the brakes because I was like, oh my God, like this is.
Literally before you met him.
Before I met him, I was like.
Because he sent you the Kit Kat that we talked about earlier, the bouquet of Kit Kats was sent before he even met her.
Yeah. Yeah. And Taylor
They've
was
been like FaceTimes and whatnot, but I was like, this motherfucker, he's on above and beyond.
Yeah.
Like, what's he overcompensating for?
Yeah. And so Taylor has been legit part of our relationship. And I do feel like your relationship with Canada Man is an important one for me because Josh was part of that relationship. You know, like Josh would always ask me how things were going, and even after like Ottawa was like it was like a big brother worried, you know, and it was really sweet for him to even just take time to process what Taylor might have been going through, so which was really nice. But yeah, my relationship with Josh has been extremely consistent. We've both put in the work. I think you've seen the growth that he's made and that we both have made individually and as a couple.
Yep.
And so recently I've been sending him pictures of engagement rings.
I fucking knew it. Okay, because before I flew out here, she's like, yeah, like Sunday, we're going to like look at a condo. And I was like, here we go. Here we go. Because you had talked about that like months ago. And
Yeah,
I was
long
like,
time ago.
Girl, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
I was like, hold up. Like, give this some more time. You don't need to rush it.
Well, that's important
But this
to
like
have.
makes sense.
Right, it makes
now.
sense now. But make sure you have that friend or family member in your life that will hold you accountable and say like, chill.
Yeah.
You can even call them Vanessa. Like they can be Vanessa when they're going like full force in a relationship to say, chill, Vanessa. And so I did chill. So we are looking right now for, he has a place not far from mine.
You guys live very close to each other.
We live very close to each other, but I work from home. He works from home too. And so, you know.
And you guys are pretty blended now. I mean, like even, you know, seeing you with like the dogs and, you know, you call them my dogs. And I was just like, oh my God. Like it just made me feel so emotional because it's like, you're really taking ownership of that. And you're like, you know, seeing his things as also your things and like really blending that. And it just made me like feel so happy for you.
So that's where we're at right now. We're looking for a place. I'm sending him ideas of what an engagement ring should look like.
I mean, I would recommend Brilliant Earth because you don't want like blood diamonds.
I actually think I sent him something from Brilliant Earth.
Girl, I'll send you a few because I got a bunch
I'm going to show you after this
beautiful.
podcast, after this episode. I'm pretty sure I sent him something from Brilliant Earth, and it was like dainty and really cute.
They have really cute like vintage stuff. This is not an ad for Brilliant Earth,
No,
but they're
I
just
mean, it
like
should be.
Yeah, just
They
like
want to
advocating
sponsor us.
for like non-blood diamonds, like ethically sourced.
And I think
diamonds.
he would so be into that. And he's Jewish. I'm Catholic. I'm not converting. He's not converting. We both appreciate and respect each other's upbringing and relationships and cultures and traditions. And so, you know, we do talk about what would a wedding look like?
Yeah.
Because a rabbi wouldn't marry us because I'm not Jewish. And I don't think a priest would because we're not in a church and he's not Catholic. And we're like, what about if we have like a ceremony with, you know, a small... there's so many thoughts that go on in our head, but we're like, you know, this is Indigenous grounds. What if we have someone, like an Indigenous person, come and officiate the wedding?
Yeah.
Because these are their grounds, you know? And ever since I started dating Josh, he's in politics. He's involved in politics. And I've been learning so much about things that I didn't learn in high school or elementary school, especially when it comes to our Canadian history. And it makes me sad to think that I thought I knew some of the stuff that a white historian was writing for another community. And so that's something that I really want to get into and like learn. I like learning the whys. I love learning the whys of people's stories.
Yeah.
So
That'd be beautiful.
yeah. I think his sister did that because she married someone who's not Jewish. And so they had that in their at their wedding, and I thought that was so beautiful. And he brought it up. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, it's neutral. It's giving them, you know, giving the Indigenous people a we're like, I'm getting married on your grounds.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a certain level of like respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it would be a beautiful ceremony. So
Yeah.
when that will happen, I don't know. I was someone who was extremely traditional. And I thought in my 20s, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to have a family and live on top of my mom's house. In an apartment on top of my mom's house, not far away from mommy, very close to all my family, in the suburbs. And I thought that was going to be the life I wanted. Yeah. But that was the life that I knew that everyone else in my community was into. And now I'm like, no, like, you know, I'm going to probably get shot on for this, but if you want to have kids out of wedlock,
why would you get shot on that?
I don't know, girl. Sometimes I say things and they're like, well, I hope you're not like, someone actually said something really mean once. Cause anyway, whatever. So
you're not advocating that people just go out and just get pregnant.
I'm just, I think it's,
but you don't have to put that pressure on yourself that you have to be married first. If you're with someone and you want to make that intentional decision to like have a child and not take that step of marriage yet, like whatever floats your boat.
Exactly. All I'm saying is in my 20s, I was judgmental. Now I'm more open to different ways of life. And
you think you guys want to live with each other first for a while before
100%. And I think that is a great idea.
Yeah. That was always that's always been my thing of like, no, I want to live together for several like years.
Oh, years?
Like at least 2.
Oh.
Because I would like to be engaged for like a few years. Like I don't want to be engaged for 1 year and then get married. Like that's too much for me, I feel like. Like I'd rather be engaged for like at least 2 years. 2 years to me feels like decent amount of time.
I feel like as you get older, though, you know whether you're going to be compatible or not.
Yeah, maybe. And I think for me, like living together, I would at least like to live together for more than a year. So maybe, you know, we've lived together for like 2-3 years and are engaged for like that last year.
But don't even put a timeline on it. I thought I was going to be married at 28, and I had this all planned out. I'm like, wow, this is great.
No, when I was
married at 28, first kid at 30. Yes, I'm 32. Yep. Nowhere near any of that.
When I was in college and Ian and I were together, we met when I was 18, and I literally said, I was like, when I'm 23, we'll get engaged.
Oh my
and then
God.
when I turn 25, we'll get married. And then between 25 and 30, we'll like have kids and travel a little bit first. And yeah, we broke up when I was 20.
How old were you when you were on the show?
I had just turned 23.
And you were ready for marriage?
No, fuck no.
Engagement?
No, fuck no.
Oh, okay.
I was not about to get engaged on that show.
No?
No. I was not like, I'm going to get engaged to you after 2 months of knowing you.
Girl, I did. Okay.
I know.
I did.
But that's where like you...
Hold up. No. I didn't want to get engaged. They didn't air this. I did not want... I had the conversation with him.
They don't air a lot of shit.
Yeah, they don't. But I didn't want to have... I had a conversation with him and I said, listen, wouldn't it be better if we just date outside of the show and then get engaged? Because that'd be more meaningful. We get to know each other. And he brought up something really important. And I think if we weren't engaged, we would have broken up sooner. He said, I know to you it could be just a piece of jewelry, but there's so much meaning towards us leaving engaged because there's going to be so much attention. There's going to be so much like backlash on us after once we're done with the show.
Yeah.
At least this is going to hold us so much more. It's going to hold us together. It's going to hold us together more than, and it's true because you have like something you're working towards, right? And I wouldn't have said yes if I didn't picture him as someone that I could have potentially grown with.
Yeah, and I see that. And I think, I don't know, in some ways that like worries me that like that would be needed to hold you together just because it is so significant and it puts so much more pressure on the relationship. Like for me, that was like, I don't want that pressure. Like it's, to me, I think so many times an engagement on the show is looked at as just a commitment to long-term date. And I don't need a fucking proposal to long-term date you. Right. Like what? No, I don't need that. Like for me, it is so much more meaningful that like you choose each other and that you commit to that work. But I get it. I get it.
Yeah, and my thought process was also like, wow, it took me, I was 28, I think, when I went on the show. Yeah. I was ready for marriage. I was ready for a family. I was ready to uproot my life, and I did. And so to me, it all made sense because I'm like, wow, I went through all these breakups that literally were so hard on me for me to be on the show. And so maybe it was meant for me to be on the show, and it was meant for me to date Nick, and it was meant for me to have this life. And
Well, because if you weren't, then I wouldn't have.
Exactly. Everything happens. It's crazy. Everything. I really do believe everything happens for a reason. Listen, if I hadn't gone on the show, I don't know would Josh have slid into my DMs?
Yeah.
Yeah, he slid, girl.
Girl, I remember I read his message and I was like,
Yeah, just as much as you were weary about my relationship at the beginning, I was like, let me be weary about yours.
Because I feel like we mama bear each other.
Yeah.
Like, I very much felt like mama bear over you and was like, what's this guy going to do?
I think he even called my sister at one point. Did you call my sister?
I did. I thought you said he called your sister.
No.
I was like, what? And I was like, no, I did call
you
her.
definitely
I did
called
call
my
her.
sister.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that. And you didn't even tell me that you did.
Yeah, I called her. We tight.
I love you.
We're going to see her tonight.
Yes, I'm so excited. So Taylor's coming to my dad's for dinner with Josh and my dad's girlfriend and her daughters, so my stepsisters.
Yeah.
And it's, I feel like we've grown closer together. I mean, this can be a whole other episode.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've grown a lot closer to my stepsisters in the last year. That I'm very grateful for because you're going to see they're so funny.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited.
I haven't had a full trip to Montreal yet, so this is and even I don't know that you would say you've had a full trip to Seattle yet. Like you had a
well, I
few
met
days.
Rob, and for me that was Seattle and Naya.
Yes, yes. Well, now you need to spend more time with Calais too because he's growing and so freaking cute. But yeah, this for me is so special to be able to come and spend time here to see more of your life and your family and just take our relationship even closer.
Yeah, I mean, last night, guys, we literally sat in front of each other and we did work. This morning, we had breakfast. We're recording a podcast and we haven't left the house.
Yep.
And it is 4:15 in the afternoon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we should.
Yeah, we should wrap this up.
How long has it been? It's been well, listen.
Yeah, this is a little bit longer of an episode now. So we will wrap this up. But yeah, it's funny because usually when we FaceTime anyway, we sit there and do our emails together. And now we're just doing it in person on a Friday night.
Yeah, Josh is like, what are you guys doing tonight? We're like,
emails.
Yeah. Just catching up on emails.
Yep. But no, I'm excited for this trip and incredibly grateful for your friendship and your support through all the ups and downs of life. I think I was texting you this before my flight and I was like, I'm going to cry right now. But it's true. I'm incredibly grateful for it. And it's this is within 100 episodes of the podcast, I've recorded 2 breakup episodes with you. You've seen me.
That's actually not bad.
I guess.
That's a good ratio.
I guess. I don't know. But yeah, you've always been there for me and I'm always going to be there for you. And I hope you know that.
And that I do know. And I've witnessed it this last year.
Yeah.
I love you so much. And I'm excited for this next chapter for you.
Yeah. It's exciting and nerve-wracking, but I do feel like I'm in a good place for it, and I'm so excited to see what you're going to do. Do you want to talk about what you're going to do? Your plans, your future plans after your breakup?
After my break, well, like I said, I'm focusing on No Better You. Right now we're looking into really exciting. So we opened up 3 sensory rooms. We're opening up 1 more in my former school where I was teaching, Galileo Adult Education Center. And we also are trying to create a mobile sensory room where we can get, if anyone has a used RV or a used a Sprinter van or whatever that we could turn into a sensory room
in Montreal,
or Ottawa or Toronto that you can drive to Montreal. And then we could transform it into a sensory room and bring it to schools and to homes and give, parents a break over the weekend, and get people become more aware that these are safe spaces for students. Even if you have anxiety, you don't even need to be diagnosed with something in particular. Yeah. I love going into the sensory rooms. So that's one of the projects. And then we have this other project that we're not sure where that's going, but we are hoping to kickstart a podcast for No Better You. And my co-host would be is this man named Alex, and I met him when I was working at the radio station here in Montreal, and he is diagnosed, and he loves radio. He has his own radio show, and he has so much energy and love to give, and I just felt like he would be a great addition to that. And listen, again, that's like an idea that we have. Hopefully it could become something where he can get paid, because my biggest hurt is whenever I see students who have so much potential but are overlooked because they look differently or that they act differently. And so I want him to get paid to do something that he loves to do. And that is a dream of mine. But as you know, it takes a while before a podcast gets any form of money.
It does.
So right now it's a passion project. It's an idea. We're trying to make it super inclusive and integrative. We want to take it to schools. We want to bring it to the special education communities and make them feel like, yeah, this is my jam. Like, this is for me. Because there's so much for people like you and I. And we want to make it visual. We want to make it for everyone. Yeah. Blind, deaf, hard of hearing, global delay, everyone. Yeah. We want to make it super, super inclusive. So
I'm so excited for you.
I'm so excited too. I have this burst of energy.
Yeah.
It just feels good. It feels good to get back into things that you know have purpose for you. People might look at me and be like, well, you're not getting paid for this. Like, why are you putting so much energy? But if I wanted to do something where I got money, I would have never gotten a teacher's degree. I wouldn't have been making, $35,000, $40,000 a year. But at that point when I felt really, really, really good. Yeah. So it's not about what's in your bank account. It's about like, how does it make you feel?
Yeah. What's in your emotional piggy bank?
Yep. Emotional piggy bank. There you go. Mine is flowing with money. Flowing with money, girl. There's so much money in my emotional piggy bank right now. I'm so rich.
Same. This is very much enriched my emotional piggy bank right now. Highs and lows throughout this episode, but overall, very good.
Such a good episode.
Breakups really are a blessing.
They really are. A romantic, career, friendship breakups.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole other episode. Yeah.
There's so many different episodes that we can have from this episode. I'm telling you, I wanted to use my whiteboard so we can jot down all these ideas. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for having me as your guest co-host again.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it. I love you so, so, so much.
I love you so, 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 so much. Now let's get ready and go to my daddy's.
Yeah, we're going to go get ready. Thank you guys so much for making it all the way through this episode and listening. I hope you've taken something away from our vulnerability and our perhaps oversharing at times, maybe TMI a little bit.
I forget sometimes we're recording.
But yeah, I hope that you guys, again, have kept an open mind and an open heart in listening to us share some of this with you all. And if you have a few seconds after listening to this, and if you could head on over to iTunes and leave a review and just leave a sentence or two letting me know what you're enjoying about the show. Or if you don't have a ton of time, just leave a star rating to show your support. It would mean so, so, so much. I'm so incredibly grateful for this community with Let's Talk About It, and can't believe it's almost 100 episodes. So
wow.
Yeah. Very, very wild. I know.
We just celebrated our 100th episode on Help I Suck at Dating.
Oh.
So I started
December 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's craziness. It's wild. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope you take care of yourself the rest of this week, and I'll talk to you next time.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.